Hey guys, Zen here, and welcome back to another video. Guys, Rainbow Six Siege is a 5-year-old game, and it's slowly progressing into year 6 with new content and operators, but there are still so many things, both big and small, that the game needs to be just a better experience. And so today, we're going over 9 incredibly specific things that need to make their way to Rainbow Six Siege. Now, with over 2,000 hours logged into this game, some of these things will just be the most minuscule, petty additions you've ever heard, but yeah, that stuff matters too. And so guys, let's just jump into it. Number 1 on this list is better Battle Pass loot. Now, if we're honest, since the inception of the Battle Pass in Rainbow Six Siege, it just hasn't been received super well. Ubisoft actually tested the waters at first by initially offering a smaller Battle Pass, and at that time, the feedback was that it was alright, but needed something a little more exciting to really get on board with it. It was followed up by the full release, and even then, nothing super interesting. And then most recently, we had the Around the World Battle Pass that offered up a pretty cool set for Castle and Valkyrie to some degree, and some people did enjoy them, but that was really it. Out of 35 tracks, to be looking forward to maybe 3 of those rewards, it's a bit low. And yeah, most of that stuff was for the premium paid for pass. And so just to wrap it up here, I think Ubisoft could do a little better. Now, I have heard feedback that they should offer up an elite if you make it to the end of the premium track, and I think that could be one way to make it a little more worth it, but those are nearly $20 and the pass is much cheaper at a little under 10, and so I doubt Ubisoft will ever go in that direction. Finally, I'll say that one redeeming factor is that you do kind of get some money back by unlocking R6 credits in a certain track in the premium pass, which is pretty generous. Number 2 on the list is high tick rate servers. So personally, I'm not a big fan of the comparison, but Valorant came out and specifically mentioned their high tick rate servers running at 128 Hz. Now, for those who don't know, server tick rate is basically the speed of the information being sent and received between you and the server the match is being played on. If you want to go even deeper, it actually affects every single player of a match. In Rainbow Six Siege, one of the most important factors to be aware of is the peeker's advantage. There's a legendary video by an ex-pro that kind of details this perfectly, but essentially there's a ghost that follows your character around and it's always just a few milliseconds behind you. And so that's why it's so important to be the peeker, be the more aggressive one, and to not let the enemy bully you. A higher tick rate server helps with this in a big way because it shortens that time it takes for the server to read your inputs and display them in the game, which ultimately means less ghosts and a more accurate display of what's actually happening. So as of the most recent update, Rainbow Six Siege is running at 60 Hz tick rates, and I remember when the news came out that they actually upgraded to that rate, and so it is definitely possible for the devs to adjust this extremely important metric, and just personally, I really hope they do. In those situations where you're running to get behind cover and on your screen you've clearly reached the cover and feel safe, but you get taken out, and when you watch the replay, the enemy takes you out well before you ever get to cover. Well, this has a lot to do with server tick rate. So overall, if your game is primarily an online experience, especially a competitive one, having a higher tick rate is an invaluable upgrade that every single player will appreciate. Next up at number 3, and this is where we're going to get a little petty, but the diamond camo. We absolutely need a better diamond camo. So as you guys can see, we're here playing with Echo with that diamond camo equipped, and man, it just literally looks like tinfoil. Like, I'm not trying to overbloat anything here, but the last thing I think of when I see this is a glistening, beautiful diamond camo. Instead, it looks like the weapon is just wrapped up in aluminum or something. Now, for a camo that cost 100,000 renown and is really that end game camo for a lot of people, I just think it should look much nicer than it currently does. One thing I will say about it is that at least on PC, as you scale your graphics up to very high and ultra, it does end up looking much nicer. This is the ultra setting here, and yeah, it looks much better than if you're playing on low settings or on console for that matter, but I think if there was one cosmetic that needs a complete rework, it's the diamond camo. A feature I'd like to explore are animated camos in Rainbow Six Siege. In games like Call of Duty, there's things like dark matter and other camos that maybe glow or even change color as you get more and more kills, which I think could be interesting for Siege. Now, obviously, this is a far more competitive experience than a game like COD, and so some will say that that could be distracting or take away from the more tactical nature, and I get that. But again, Diamond is basically as good as it gets outside of an alpha pack. It's universal, it doesn't require that you purchase anything like a season pass or R6 credits. If you grind it out and play the game like you normally would and save up, one day you can have it on every weapon, but as petty as it may be, I think it needs an upgrade. With number 4, I'm doing this for my fellow creators out there, streamer mode. Now, if you guys weren't aware, Ubisoft actually updated the terms of service and added that it's officially against the TOS to stream snipe. It reads, exploit another broadcaster's live broadcast in order to gain an unfair advantage or harass a broadcaster in-game, such as stream sniping. So streaming is one of the best things a creator can do to connect with their audience because it allows for in real-time interaction, and there really is nothing else quite like it. Now, from a competitive standpoint, the only downside of of it is when those same supporters notice that they're playing against their favorite creator and turn on their stream during the match. At that point, it's no longer a fair play. It makes it incredibly difficult for the creator to continue on with the match, but it also forces them to do things like only watch a random default cam, because if they're watching from a teammate's perspective, they're still giving away constant information to the stream sniper and ultimately the entire enemy team. Now, yes, stream delay does exist and it gives the streamer a 30-second or so lead time, but that's a somewhat backwards solution because it hurts the quality of the stream and being able to vibe with your audience. Streamer mode is really the best answer here. It changes up the name of every player in the match to something generic like player 1, player 2, and so on. So when you enter the match, you don't really know who you're playing against. Of course, features like this can have many layers, but the point is to scramble up the names so it isn't clear that you're up against Zen or the Ubisoft news team, and the match can carry on fairly. Number 5 here is to remove duplicate legendaries from the alpha pack pool. So in my last alpha pack opening video, I opened up 301 alpha packs. It was a lot of fun. Go check it out if you haven't yet. But out of those 301, I opened up only 11 legendaries. Now, out of those 11, I opened 3 or 4 duplicates. And so out of 301 packs, I received just 6 new legendary offerings. And with how low the chances are of getting a legendary, it's incredibly disappointing. Now, I get that packs are a form of monetizing Siege, and I'm on board for the most part, but I think legendaries specifically should always be something new. But there is no more shallow of a feeling than getting hyped to open up a fresh legendary pack and that golden glow only to be presented with yet another duplicate. 6 is to finally add a shooting range to Rainbow Six Siege. Now, in Operation Void Edge, Terrorist Hunt changed over to Training Grounds, and right now, that's all it is, just a name change. But in the future, the potential here is huge. Most new titles have some kind of shooting range that allows you to pick and choose whichever weapon you'd like and test out the recoil or just warm up before a ranked session. Now, Training Grounds does have this, kind of, but if we're honest, a more streamlined experience would be better suited here. I'd really like for the devs to fully flesh out Training Grounds to just that, a place to train, test out new gadgets, explore new features, and of course, warm up that strong hand. Like, sometimes you don't want to necessarily commit to a full match, either ranked or casual, and then once you're taken out, that's it. You've got to wait for the next round. It would be interesting to see a non-lethal combat zone in Siege that really allows you to practice and work with every weapon and every gadget in the game, and it's something Rainbow Six Siege is missing as of now. Currently, in Training Grounds, there are some gadgets that have no use or just don't serve any purpose against the AI, like Caveira's Silent Step or Mozzie's Pest. I could see combining the situations with Training Grounds and set up scenarios that the player can play out and really teach them the ins and outs of each operator, because as a new player, those types of lessons can really help. Number 7 on the list is a bomb locator on spawn locations for the attackers. So how many times have you started an attacking round and not known the best place to spawn in relation to where the bomb site is? It would be really helpful if after you've spotted the bomb with your drone, when you go to pick your spawn, a small circle highlights where the bomb is on the map so you can better plan your entry strategy. Even when I do know the exact location of the site, it'd be nice to have that feedback in plain sight, because then you know that everyone on the squad is aware and can play accordingly. It's small, maybe a little insignificant, but a quality of life update all the same. Number 8 is more weapon customization, specifically with the attachments. No matter what skin you're using, all of the attachments look the same on every gun in the game. Now, if you guys didn't know, this wasn't always the case. For instance, the holographic sight actually used to be tan, and so they changed it to black just to better match the rest of the sights, and they never really looked back. Since the change, a lot of people have been wondering if the devs would ever revisit this and switch up the colors for the optics and to take it a step deeper and allow for customization of attachments as well. Now, added to this, in the same way Ubisoft have slowly introduced new secondary gadgets like the bulletproof camera, and even way back when they introduced impact grenades on defense, it'd add more depth if there were more attachments, like an extended magazine on certain weapons. Prior to these secondary gadgets making their way to the game, there was literally no way for a defender to make rotations without a shotgun, and so operators like Rook, who you always see with impact nades for the most part, didn't have nearly as much utility as they do today. The most recent rework to the deployable shield, by giving it the cutouts and allowing both sides to see through it, has made a huge difference in how it's used, and so ultimately I think it's benefited the meta when new secondary gadgets have been added, and I think the same could be argued for weapon attachments. And then finally, here at number 9, mark all as red. Rainbow Six Siege is now in its 5th year, and every single new season when there's a bunch of notifications, you have to manually clear each one. All I'm going to say is mark all as red. But okay, guys, that's 9 incredibly specific things that I think are a must for Rainbow Six Siege. Now, if you guys have anything you'd like to see in Rainbow Six Siege, no matter how petty they may be, let us know in a comment down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. But guys, if you did enjoy this video, please drop a like and subscribe with notifications if you're new. With that, it's been Zen. Thanks for watching. I'm out.